The New York Rangers are going to make some changes this offseason. I would be shocked if they didn't. But two of the big moves that I think absolutely need to be made are trading away guys like Kreider Miller and Chris Kreider. So in today's video, we're going to talk about why I think it is so crucial and important for this Rangers team to trade away these two players. Because first off, I think it's pretty clear the way this roster is built right now, and we've seen over the past couple of seasons now in the playoffs especially, this team isn't built the best way to win a Stanley Cup. I think that's pretty clear. But trading away guys like Kreider and Kreider, although aren't going to completely fix this team, I think trading these two players away puts this team in a potentially really good spot to add in some more key players to really make the change needed and really fix this roster. And I'm not saying they're the only problems with this team, but they are two players who I think are definitely potential trade targets for other teams there, and I think other teams definitely would still value a guy like Kreider who still has some upside there, still has a lot of talent, and a guy like Kreider who not that long ago was a consistent 30-goal scorer season in and season out. All of us had a down year now, but I think going to a new team there definitely is still hope. You could see, Kreider become, once again, that 30-plus goal scorer kind of guy for any other team. So I definitely think Kreider and Kreider could be valuable pickups for other teams there, and especially for other teams. You're not trading for these guys when they're at their peak value, so I understand on the Rangers side of things there, that's not ideal to hear, but I think it's pretty clear Kreider and Kreider are not coming off of their best seasons from their careers, and with where they're at right now, they're just not anywhere close to their peak value. So on the Rangers side of things, that is kind of what's unfortunate there. You're trading these guys away, nowhere really near their true peak value. But I think right now at this point, I think it is probably what's best for this team to trade both these guys away. Now, Kreider, I'm a little more lenient on. I think it makes a little more sense to keep a guy like Kreider over Kreider. I think Kreider is an absolute must trade. And, I am a 21-year-old Rangers fan, right? I've pretty much grown up my entire Rangers fandom, time or whatever you want to call it, watching Chris Kreider. He's been on this team for pretty much that entire time of me really being, like a full-on fan of the New York Rangers. So I think obviously it'd be sad to see a guy like that go away, who I've watched for so many years growing up as a New York Rangers fan. But I think with where this team is at right now, with where kind of Kreider's at in his career and the way things have been kind of going with this team, we need to see some more change. And if you trade away a guy like Kreider, you're opening up $6.5 million in cap space, assuming you're not obviously, retaining any money there or picking up another contract in that deal. But you're able to open up at least about $6.5 million just with Kreider alone being dealt away. And then if you include, Kreider Miller there, you're saving at least a combined between both those guys $10.5 million on the low end, because Kreider is going to get at least $4 million. That's like the absolute bare minimum. He's going to get definitely more than $4 million, I'd assume, but his deal right now was just under 3.9. He's an RFA with arbitration eligibility. He's going to get more than $4 million. I can definitely pretty much say that with certainty. So you're looking at savings of at least, and an extra cap space available of at least $10.5 million on the low end if you trade away guys like Kreider and Kreider. So that allows you to go out there and add in a real impactful, top four or even top pairing caliber defenseman. You can go out there and you can definitely sign like a guy like Gavrikov, for example, or at least have that money available to get a guy like Gavrikov, or, to go after some other top free agents there, or possibly go out there and, trade for a real good impactful defenseman, or you have that cap space available to go out there and make some big moves happen. So that's why, first off, I think it makes a lot of sense to trade both of them away, but especially a guy like Kreider there, where you are saving, at least $6.5 million trading away a guy like Kreider. So that is a big bonus there. But I really do think that, something that's needed for this team is a real impactful top four defenseman. You need to add in one in this offseason. That's an absolute must. And if you can trade away a guy like Kreider, that pretty much single-handedly opens up about as much cap space available to go out there and, sign a guy like a Gavrikov in for agency, or at least another kind of top four caliber defenseman. You're basically opening up enough money to sign one of those kind of guys. So I think that right off the bat there is a pretty clear reason why you want to trade him away. Also, I think there are some other young wingers who are a lot cheaper. Guys like, Perreault, Berard, Offman, who I think can definitely play a role about as good, if not better, potentially next season than a guy like Kreider. Now, I'm not saying, Offman or Perreault or Berard are going to go up there and score, 25, 30 goals next season. Although, in a full season there, I kind of hope at least one of those guys could get close to that if they get, a decent kind of chance there. But I just think giving more of an opportunity to some of these young guys there it definitely makes a lot of sense because this Rangers team hasn't done a good enough job in the past of developing and giving chances to young guys. So if you deal away a guy like Kreider, you put some faith in some of those young guys there and open up a real spot for sure in that top 9 for a couple of those guys. I think that allows you to obviously save a lot more cap space because then you're able to send that, Kreider money over into a defenseman now instead of, keeping a guy like Kreider who, although maybe under, Mike Sullivan has a different kind of a role, but we saw Kreider for the most part there at the end of the season, he was in a fourth line and third line kind of role there. So I think trading away a guy like that is making $6.5 million definitely makes a lot of sense. And even with how bad Kreider was this season there, he still ended up having 22 goals in 68 games played. Also, like I said, playing on the fourth line for a decent chunk of time there. Last season there, still had 39 goals. Season before that, 36, then 52, 20, 24, right? So he has been a good, consistent goal scorer for quite some time now. And I think going forward in the next season there, especially with a new kind of team, he maybe definitely can still get around that 30, 35 goal mark. It definitely is still possible. So I really do think Kreider has some value left. I don't think it's something where the Rangers should have to give up like a second round pick to get off this contract. Now, I don't think we're going to get like a first round pick back in return, but getting back something decent, I definitely think is possible. I mean, you take a look at what the Rangers got back for Jacob Trouba, who was a liability. I don't think it's really debatable. Jacob Trouba was a massive liability at moments for this team. He was a negative defenseman to have out there on the ice for quite a bit of his time when he was playing, and he still ended up getting back for the Rangers a fourth-round pick and a decent depth defenseman in Urho Vakanainen, who is still in his mid-20s there, right? So this team got back a decent defenseman there who's still in his mid-20s and a fourth-round pick for someone who is a massive negative to have on your team, on your defense core. And I know the circumstances kind of why Anaheim would want him. He's obviously more of a veteran kind of guy at this point. He could be a decent guy in the locker room to have, possibly. Brings a lot of physicality, some toughness for a young team. That makes a lot of sense there, and they were obviously a team who, could definitely add on that contract without having to really kind of worry about the money. So that makes sense. I understand that, but I still think there's got to be a team out there, maybe like in Anaheim, who want to add in a veteran guy there who has a lot of playoff experience, who, can score maybe 30, 35 goals for him still, or maybe 25 plus at least, right? Something around there definitely is realistic for a guy like Kreider. Maybe he doesn't get back to that, 36 goal mark, but can he get back to a, 25, 26, 27 goal mark in the mid to high 20s there next season on a new team? Definitely, I think it's possible. So to me, trading away a guy like Kreider, getting back a pick and a prospect or, a low-tier pick, whatever it is, I think it'd be worth it there. You open up that cap space available, you save $6.5 million, you use that money to go out there and add in a guy like Gavrikov. And for K'Andre Miller, although I do want to see him probably get traded away, if he does come back on a somewhat reasonable contract and it's not some crazy deal, it definitely could be a good move for this team. And obviously a guy like maybe K'Andre under a different kind of new defensive coach. They're under Mike Sullivan, a new head coach, in a new defensive system. Maybe he can, get back on track to where he kind of was at moments in past seasons there. Because I think this season there, he definitely wasn't great. And I think he has been better in the past. So obviously, he still has always never been that truly consistent guy, but he still shows so many flashes of being a high-end defenseman. So I think under a new system, maybe he can, turn things back around and get back on track in his development. Definitely is possible. So I'm not completely out on K'Andre Miller, although I would definitely, if you can get back some actual solid value, I definitely think it would make sense to trade him away. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of offers become available potentially and whether or not they even want to trade him away, because it definitely is possible Mike Sullivan and Drury end up kind of wanting him to stay around. We'll have to wait and see, but obviously I just think trading away guys like Kreider and K'Andre could be the right moves for this team to really get them back on track to being a cup contender. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. Also, don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. Do you want to see the Rangers trade away K'Andre and Kreider? And also, what do you think is a possible kind of return for either of these two guys? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.